Yeah, there you go. You heard it here first. Everyone. You heard it here first. Without Daft Punk, we wouldn't have Future Funk. You can debate that in the comments all you want, but that's the opinion.
Oh no, what I have done.
Like a superstar. Da, 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 da. Love that intro. What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in to Vapor tonight. I am so excited today to be talking about PopSlinger, the amazing game for the Nintendo Switch that is the intersection between both video games and future funk. Dare I say, the first game that combines future funk and video games. I am so freaking excited about this. And today we are talking to Jose Abreu, the game's creator. He is also the owner and the designer and the producer of Funky Can Creative, his own game development company. His skills include both Unity and Unreal, so C# and C++ for all of our coders out there. And we are also talking to Skule Toyama. He needs little introduction. He is super famous in the future funk scene. His debut EP called Busy Nights at Tokyo debuted his soft funk style of future funk, which I am a huge fan of. I know you guys are too. And both of our amazing guests hail from Mexico. And that's one of the things that I love about future funk is it brings people together from all over the world. So from Japan to Mexico and everywhere else, welcome. I know you guys are so excited to hear about PopSlinger, to talk to these two amazing individuals. And without any further ado, let's jump right into the interview. And oh, just wait, please, if you haven't already, I gotta say it, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. As soon as you log into PopSlinger, or turn it on, I should say, you immediately recognize some of the tracks, and it's just a super fun game. So I'm super excited to be talking to you guys. Everyone who's watching this, listening to this, I hope you're excited too. And once again, thanks everyone for joining. So let's get into it. So questions will be for both of you. The stuff, questions about the game, I think, Jose, that'll be more your territory, but Skule, feel free to jump in at any time. So Jose, why don't you give us a introduction to PopSlinger? Tell us what the game's all about, and was it, especially going to the reasoning behind the mixture of future funk in the game? Like, was it always supposed to be a future funk game, and how long did it take to create?
Oh man, well, first of all, thank you for that amazing introduction. It's an honor for, I think, I can speak for both for Toyama and I, that it's an honor for the both of us to be here talking to you about the game, particularly because it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, you know, so it makes me really happy that the audience has picked it up as well as they have. And I really appreciate you mentioning a little bit about the elements that you've seen in the game, because all of that stuff has been deliberate, you know. Just to kind of talk about the game, it's the tin says it's a narrative-driven musical action game, basically kind of a part beat 'em up, part musical shooter kind of situation, where you have a big juicy character, you know, like Rhea, with like these detailed sprites kind of moving around in a cartoon environment, shooting the crap out of, you know, gooey monsters and colors and music, and, you know, it all comes together beautifully. It is very much something that was done the way it was because it had to be that way. I would say, you know, it started out, just to be very brief, as a mobile thing initially. We're talking very early on, like when it wasn't like an idea, like 2017, it was this concept about magical girls and sodas and stuff like that. There was a little bit of like a Pepsi Man in there too, for good measure, as a reference. But at the time, I was also surrounded by, you know, music channels, specifically like future funk. It was something that basically I was feeding off of every day. So it was something that became what it is. I think it had to be that way. You know, it was meant to be the way it was because of those things that were kind of around me at the time. And I really wanted to make like a stylish Nintendo Switch game. Since then, since the console came out, and I just didn't give up. I guess I just kept going. And officially, since we started working with Nintendo, it took us roughly 2 years, really, when it was like, okay, we have the tools, we got their permissions, we got the keys to the car, and now we gotta actually drive the car to the end, So it was very much, it was a bit of a journey to get there, but it really took roughly like 2 years for us to actually make the thing as good as it was, I suppose, as good as it is.
yeah, of course. And it's super polished too. And actually, I mean, 2017, it seems like a long time ago, but like there's so much that you put into that game. So I think that makes sense. And I think it's just a lesson that, if you like something, you're passionate about something, just keep working at it little by little. I see you have Jin. That's the character that you're holding up right now.
Yeah.
One of the characters in the game. Yeah, exactly. Super Saiyan. That's awesome. And then, the soundtrack's awesome. I'm looking over some of my notes here. The sound design, like the pops when you shoot your soda gun, the chain mechanic, like when you shoot those like blob monsters of the same color. If you do that like four or five in a row. If you do that and then you do it again, you unlock like different like sounds and powers and everything.
It's a very kind of it's a game that really encourages you to do better every time, I think, because every time that you get those sequences, progression is what it's called in the game, the music gets hyper and better. And it's so amazing because people get happier and happier. That's one thing that I hear a lot about. It's like, oh, it gets so cool. But it's funny because if you kind of make a mistake or whatever, that music winds a little bit down, but it does give you a chance to kind of get back at it again. And it's this cycle of, I don't know, it's like being at a rave or something at a party where it gets better and better as it goes along too, and maybe you miss a beat, you miss a step, but then you get back into it and you can go and be the life of the party again,
Yeah, for sure. And what was it like coming up with that whole relationship between the game and the music? Did you and Skule work on that concept together, or how did that come to be?
So it was a bit of a journey. I think every aspect of this game was a journey, even getting to a place where, to Toyama, to where we were at that point, I worked with a few other collaborators in the past. Also, some of them from the genre, some of them not necessarily from the genre, but we couldn't quite get the feeling that, was appropriate for the game. And I guess at the time, stereo was either out or very, it had been out. I don't remember exactly just how long it had been, but I was like, oh, I listened to the stereo track. I put it on the waveform CD level, actually. And then it kind of clicked with me. Where it's like, oh, we have to make it happen like this, And it was so fortunate of me because Toyama, just like me, is in Mexico. So it makes things also like a little bit easier as far as like communication and logistics and all of that. And, I approached him with at the time, like a more developed prototype of the thing that I had with a bit more of a very solid idea. And I was like, hey, you want to go to town on this? Because, I think this would be perfect for the kind of stuff that you do. And I guess that's how that was the birth of a beautiful partnership and friendship and, collaborationship. All the ships.
Yeah, I still remember the moment you talked to me about it, and yeah, what you said about me being in Mexico too. I didn't knew you were in Mexico, or I thought that you knew how to talk in Spanish, but you were from, I don't know, United States or something. But yeah, for the two of us to be in Mexico was really fortunate in a lot of ways because I have never really worked on a video game. Just once. It wasn't a really nice experience. Mostly in communication. It wasn't there in a lot of ways. But this time I was thinking, yeah, I will give it a shot. It's in Mexico. It's here. It's easy. So yeah, and well, here we are. It was a really great decision. that I do not regret in any way.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it came out so well. Like the OST that you produce, Skule, what is just awesome. Is that it, did you do that all yourself, or was there collaboration with Jose?
Well, for the levels itself, it was all me, my production from my side. But of course, I had the tips and and suggestions from Jose. But there's also a lot of stuff that he had that helped me with the whole idea of making the music, that really helped with the whole sound design of it, because I haven't talked about it really, but I did a lot of the sounds for the game,
Oh yes,
SFX. I did a
yes you
lot of
did.
them because the game needed those sounds, so I did them, and I could say on the tip of my mind, the ranking sound when you
Mm-hmm.
finish a level,
Mm-hmm.
also a lot of shooting, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important ones was the laser gun. I had to do
Mm.
a whole, I will say, system to it, because it's separated in three parts. It's charge, loop
Mm-hmm.
charge, and well, the laser itself. So yeah, every single level has a different laser sound that is
Mm-hmm.
coded. So it sounds on the key of the music, and that was well, that was some of the stuff I did for the game, and there is a lot that I can't really remember because it was just on the go. If oh, it needs that, okay, I will do it. It needs that, I will do it. Yeah,
I just want to say, not even to this day, I guess, because that's how it was. You know, not a day went by when we weren't talking. It was a lot of that. You know, he would really sit down and do something. I would tell him, you know, we need this, or rather, the game needs this, because that's kind of the way I we try to operate as a team. It's like it's not just what I want; it's what's good for the game, right? So the game and the aesthetic and the things that we have, they need this and this and that. Like we need these sound effects to be in this key, or we need a track that feels this way. And it was like, hey, I have these ideas for you to kind of, if you want to play around with them. And you know, he'd go to town. I barely really ever had to give him any instructions as far as like to be like, oh yeah, to do this. It was just like, I guess we really just bounced off of each other, because we got along, and we I learned a lot from him too, you know, from his stuff. So it
yeah,
was a
yeah.
very we were feeding off of each other, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, also that thing about me not needing a lot of instructions was mostly, I would say, my part, because I'm a sucker for video games, and mostly for music in video games. And I follow a lot of channels that talk about music. And at the time, I had to really get into the idea of making music for video games. And one of the inspirations, and this is a really weird one of the inspiration of the whole loop of music and gameplay was Doom Eternal, because there is this thing in Doom Eternal that whatever you do, the gameplay in the gameplay, the music reacts to it. So I had that really big idea of how it's the feeling of playing and hear music and everything coming together.
Oh, that's so cool. And that inspiration was from Doom Eternal, you said. Is that right?
Yeah, it's from a different and whole alternate style.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, metal
absolutely.
music, shooter, arena shooter game. So it's really weird for me to say. Maybe a lot of people say it's will say it's not really that close. But if you think about it, and if you see a lot of the videos about talking about the music, it really brings a lot of things together about the whole dance between music and gameplay.
I I, I want to agree with him very briefly and touch on that like very quickly, because I also had my own. I also came in, you know, I came to him with my own kind of ideas, and for me, it was something that came out a little before that. It was Devil May Cry 5. Believe it or not, I actually had the chance to, and maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but in my time when I was in Japan, I got to go to a lot of developer conferences, and I got a chance to see one from the sound team of Devil May Cry 5, and they were talking at length about their dynamic music system. So that was also something that I kind of wanted initially to go like, hey, we should do it kind of like this. But obviously, you know, as with anything, research is really important, but also thinking about how it applies to your game. I think that's also part of why sometimes people think, oh, I can't believe it's you actually were looking at that. But it's true, because we definitely look at a lot of other stuff for this, you know. And I'm super glad that Toyama also does his own research, you know. That's pretty telling of like the kind of team we are, you know, when we work on this kind of stuff, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's you guys have a great partnership. Just listening to how you work together and how just smooth everything seemed to go with little direction. How did you guys usually communicate? Like, was it over Discord or?
Oh, yeah,
Text.
like boomers do on Messenger,
Yeah.
Facebook.
But we didn't actually meet. No kidding. We didn't actually get to meet until like last week at the game's
Wow.
launch. Yeah, we didn't get to meet in person until then. We didn't even get to talk until like a day before that or something.
Yeah,
It was
everything was
mostly
fun.
just chatting.
Wow,
Yeah,
just chatting. So not even like a phone call or anything like that. Just chatting
nothing.
on Facebook Messenger.
I mean, that really explains the whole like connection and like I don't know how to say it, but how easy it was for us to communicate that we did need to talk in person or in voice chat to work.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. I mean, that's just so telling about both of your relationship and also the state of technology today. How if you can really get along with someone and if you work well together, you don't even have to call them. You don't even have to video chat. You can just message on Messenger and you guys can create an awesome game. So that's super cool. And Jose, you were talking about your time in Japan, and you told me a little bit earlier that you actually got to visit Nintendo, and you got tackled by a security guard. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, you know, it was very much a chance that I had to meet, you know, in my eternal quest to actually get this game out the door. I was like, well, you know, I want to self-publish because it is a very tricky market where people don't necessarily like risky ideas. So you got to have a little bit of guts, I suppose, to actually want to make what you want to make. And thankfully, I got to meet some people that pointed me at the right direction at the right time. So I met someone, very dear friend of mine that, you know, works at Nintendo. And then it was a contact in Japan, and they tell me like, hey, you know, I was heading on my way there because I had my own kind of business and agendas to do to Kyoto. And they tell me, hey, yeah, so please talk to us about that, about the project that you have in mind. Let's have a meeting. I thought it was going to be like at they call it izakaya or like a restaurant or something, like, oh, cool, let's just meet because that's my idea of meeting. And then they gave me the address, and it turns out to be like the actual Nintendo HQ, like the big white building. And they tell me, yeah, just walk in the door, walk through the door, no problem. You'll get to meet us. And then I walked through the door, and I had a guard like, you know, running at me, you know, because there's a lot of crazy tourists that kind of try to get in the Nintendo building, and they thought I was one of those. So I was like, no, I actually have business here, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, you know, I got to meet those people. We talked for hours. You know, I showed him a very ugly version of our game. You know, very primitive, but they were down. They said, you know, you do what you have to do. Uh, you have our blessing. Go make it. You know, here's the equipment. Go to town. And it's still kind of hard for me to process because it's like it's one of those things that happen to you, and it sounds unbelievable because it is even to this day. And I kind of go, no, yeah, that truly happened. So I believe that, you know, PopSlinger is definitely a game that had to be made. It had to exist. You know, even Nintendo allowed us to for it to exist, I suppose. You know.
Yeah, of course. It's something like if an opportunity lines up like that, you really have to take it. And just to recap for our listeners, so especially for those listeners that might want to develop a game, so really it was through that connection that you had that helped get you through the door. I know you got tackled when you went through the door, but is that the is that the story? Am I missing anything?
I think it was kind of the part where I was scared that it might not happen, or kind of afraid that I would go through all of that journey to kind of not get the permissions that we needed. It really was just a lot of persistence and talking to a lot of people. I talked to so many publisher types and business people that it kind of took me a little bit to kind of go, okay, why don't we just talk to Nintendo and see what they can think about, what they think about that. And gracefully, because this was, I think, at an event in Canada, a video game event that I had to go in Canada. And which tells you also, like, I'm in Mexico. I had to move around so much just to get to this point. And then for them to tell me, like, yeah, go meet us in Japan. And then that happens. It's kind of unbelievable, it's crazy, but I'm also super happy that it happened, particularly because that year was 2020. And in 2020, COVID had started. So if it hadn't been, because I think that happened January to February, so it hadn't gotten as bad. If I had taken a month or a little longer than that, it might not have happened, So it's as a set of fortunate circumstances, but it was also kind of myself putting myself in a position for these things to happen as well,
Yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of dedication, a lot of networking, it seems, and people hear that advice all the time, but you live that, which I think is so important, and that's really good advice for anyone out there who wants to develop their own game. You got to put in that work. You got to do the networking. You got to talk to the right people.
You got to talk to people. And
you gotta.
I think the most important part is, it's not just talking to people, but it's believing in the thing that you are doing. And to this day, I believe that PopSlinger was a game that I wanted to make, that I needed to make. It needed to exist, and then it's reflecting that to the people around you, so that it happens. That's, I think, part of why I ended up working with amazing people like Toyama. It's because I believe that there was a need for him to be here, because the game deserved that sort of quality of work. And not giving up and trying to make that happen, and having a lot of patience too. I think patience will definitely help you in this business.
Yep. I'm sure. Oh my gosh. And speaking of that, how did you guys first meet? Yeah, how did you guys first meet?
That you mean in person, or like how we met for work?
Met for work.
I think I saw him on, well, I was listening to his music. I became addicted to stereo on Spotify, and I listened to it like hundreds of times. And then I got to do some research on him, and I found out that he actually had a Twitter account. I was very, very scared at the time to approach people. And I will say this, I got encouraged, because a little before that, actually, I got to get in touch with Betty VA, which is the amazing actress that does the voice of Ria and Jin. And I had to go through that trial as well of approaching someone and not being seen like you're catfishing or like being a creep or something, like, oh, please make work on my game. I swear it's not, it's something very real. So I kind of went through that process of trying to communicate with people and trying to lose that fear and just approach them. So I saw it. I kind of prepared myself mentally for that. At the time also, I had gone through like another composer, and we kind of had creative differences. You know how it goes. It's like, okay, I was like, this better be the person that I hopefully will be the one to take us to the goal. So I approached him, and I told him like the situation, like, hey, we're doing this game, and we're trying to get this. I don't even know. I'll ask you right away, Toyama, because I don't remember. Did I even approach you? Did I even bring up Future Funk, or was it just me approaching you? Because I don't remember that.
Oh, I don't remember either a lot. I kind of just remember you talking about the game and me being interested at the first, because that thing you said about not sounding, how you would say, like too desperate,
Yeah,
for the game.
not creepy.
I'm really used to messages like that because when you work for like for music, I'm not saying I'm the only one and it only happens on music, but it's this thing about, oh, deals, you want to get your music published, put it on this, pay this, and I know a lot of those people that just get into the deal right away instead of talking about what they're making.
Mm.
So I'm really sure when I can turn down something. But if you talk about uh, a tip for people when they want to talk about stuff and collaborate with people, you first need to talk about what you're doing, because if you have proof of what you do is it's really what you want to do and it's not some catfishing thing like that, people really notice you. I mean, it's not like a foolproof thing, but it's a really nice way of approaching people that is not rude. Okay, let me check the messages. I think
Just look
you.
for a receipt.
Yeah. I just want to check. I'm going to check it really fast. I think you first told me about you being in Monterrey and working for the Switch and working for the video game as a commission. That's what you say, a commission, not a partnership. So I was really thinking, okay, I'm going to make a song and that's it. So I was thinking, I was thinking
Yeah.
of it really just being a small work. So yeah, I was really comfortable with the whole idea. So yeah, that's how we started talking, and
You think,
you
yeah.
sent me an email of the whole like demo, you would
Oh,
say,
cool. Good.
of visuals and levels and all of that. So yeah, that's how it started. And okay, I could stay all day here seeing the messages,
Oh
but
no.
yeah, you first just approach me saying, oh, I'm from here. This is the Switch. Can I send you a demo? And I said yes, and that's how everything started. Everything started.
Yeah, so it's very much that it's a very gradual thing, I think, too, because it's a relationship that you have to build on, and that's important for, I think, when you work as a team on anything really, is to generate that interest, but also to develop, nurture. You're nurturing a relationship that you want to last, because when you're in this business, especially like making independent video games and whatnot, it is a very, very treacherous, very, very volatile kind of path. So you have to really think, you have to really think about how to approach things. And from my perspective, it's always about, we got to survive, we got to make it, we got to make something good. Obviously, we got to do our best, but we also kind of need to, I need to think of a way for this game to, be out there and survive. And that's kind of, now, since he's reminding me about this, which is great, is that information, giving him that information for him to be able to make an informed decision, as so that he knows what he's getting into. And then, from there, you kind of start building those pieces, building blocks, I guess. And then, you just go to town and hopefully make something special.
Absolutely. So yeah, a great lesson there for anyone reaching out to artists. Don't lead with the pitch. Give them some context, give them some information about what you're working on, and you better have proof, because that's what shows you're passionate.
Yeah.
Um,
Also about yourself too, because I mean, not like saying your whole name and all of that, but and saying that I'm not like a big company, or being honest of who you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
then people get scared, or people get like don't trust like companies and all of that. But if you're like a person, and you make clear that you are just a passionate person working on a project, that really is a big plus for
mhm.
people to work. I will say personally that that's a really big thing and attracts a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think honest, I mean, you hear it all the time, but like honesty is key. And I think more than that, show just who you are as a person, be honest, tell them, be truthful about what type of operation you have going on, what's going on, and show that you have nothing to hide, because there's so many people that talk really big nowadays, and they say a lot of things and they're not too honest. So that's really good advice to just be upfront about anything. And if the relationship works, it works. And if it doesn't, you move on to the next opportunity. Um, Alrighty, so we had some questions from the Vaportonite Discord. Anyone listening, you guys are invited to join, of course. But this user, I love all the usernames that we have. This one is from the user Long Meatball that had quite a few questions, which I really liked. And for the both of you, what got you guys into future funk in the first place?
I'll start. It's, it was just the combination of the nostalgia for like the older anime that I grew up with, the stuff that I love, because we grew up basically watching a lot of these shows like Sailor Moon and stuff like that on public access TV, which is amazing to me, the fact that we actually had access to that. So that kind of was part of our environment. And I think that fed, that is fed on into the genre because of the musicality of it, and the music videos, right? Which are short loops or whatever, but it's like, it's so great. Just you see that combination of visuals with music, and it gives you a feeling that's hard to describe. In one word, if I can put it, it's just the dreaminess of it. It's so dreamy. And I remember this one time, I had a YouTube comment or something that I forget. I still try to remember because I showed this to Diego, our artist, which shout out to him, by the way, he's great. It's like this genre, this feeling of like almost being in a dreamlike state, but it's like a nice little dream, and it's so fantastic. The colors and the music and all of those elements, I think, were something that to this day, to me, they're just fascinating. So trying to work with something like that and make something out of it, it's so interesting because those things are based on things that already exist, right? The music and also like the visuals. So trying to make something new out of that was also an experience in and of itself, So getting that done and getting feeding off of it, I think that was the reason why we decided to go with that, because it was there. It's great. It made, at least for me and the team, it made us feel great. So we wanted to make more of it. We wanted to take from that and make something cool with it.
Yeah, what you say really makes me feel like an outsider, because my journey through future funk was, I would say, like a rabbit hole, because I started with music, electronic music. I would say started with dubstep, a face of dubstep. So I was really getting into that electronic genre. Then I discovered Daft Punk. People say, oh, they created future fun and etc. etc. But not getting too far. I was really getting into the idea of making music, but I wasn't really sure on what to do. I started making beats with Mixcraft, the demo sounds. That it has a 40-day trial, so I was a producer for 14 days. But then with Daft Punk, what happened is that I discovered sampling. That whole idea of taking a sound and using it and all of that. So I got in this really rabbit hole of, oh, how it's made. Oh, it's this, is that. Oh, what is French house? Like that big word. What is French house? That whole genre that I started with. Then I got recommendations of music, in my YouTube channel. In my YouTube account, from different artists, different I don't know, genres. But then I got like, well, what Jose said about the loops and the music and future funk. But I didn't start with future funk. I started with vaporwave, really. I got into the whole vibe of vaporwave, nostalgia. I was really young. I was 16 maybe, or 15. I was 15. So I didn't knew what I was watching, but I like it a lot, and I fell into this rabbit hole of, who's these people? What is this? What is this community that was hidden? I am right now discovering. So yeah, how I got into future funk was a fortunate me tripping, fortunately, into the whole rabbit hole of future funk. So yeah, that whole journey of Saint Pepsi, I don't know, you will say Private Color, then Macros 8299, that me trying to make my own beats and making my own type of music, and my first music was in 2017 or before that. I can't remember exactly, but it was like a really bad. Well, I wouldn't say bad. Wait, yes, whatever. It was bad. A bad mix of Plastic Love, but the instrumental version. So yeah, this is really funny because I will say almost every producer of future funk started with Plastic Love and flipping Plastic Love. So yeah, I will say mine was not that different, but it was like my own weird way of discovering music, because that's how I still discover music. I get into a type of genre and style, and then I start looking for interviews and forums and all of that. I start reading, and without getting too off topic, I think that is a really fun thing to do, to just read about what you're looking into, because I would say you can listen to it and repeat music and all of that, but getting into the minds of the artists that make that music and what they wanted to do and the idea and the style, the creative visions, gives you a really big perspective of that, and you learn from that. You learn from that people, I would say. You you learn how that kind of stuff is done, how artists think, creative vision, creative direction. So if you want to learn about what of a concept, or how you can make a concept, that's how you start reading about how other people do it, and that's how I learned everything actually, and music wise, production, visuals. I use I won't say copied, but I recreated what they did, and that's how I got into the whole future funk. And I learned by myself by following other people's steps. So yeah, it was really fast. It happened in 2 years. How I got into it, but yeah, I'm still here, and it was amazing.
I wanna add something really quickly because he brought up Daft Punk. Two things. One is that because I forgot to mention like some of the inspirations for this, for the anime stuff, and Interstellar 5555, right, 4 5s. That was my, you know, uh, it was my gateway drug into music in general, French house, dance, and all of that stuff, all of that good stuff. The combination of visuals, having an entire movie with no dialogue and just music, that to me is almost like the essence of the things that I like and want to do. That expression was something that I've been watching since I was probably like 8 or 9 or something, because they used to air that on TV. And it was so fascinating to this day because I kept watching it over and over again. And Daft Punk is like a huge part of my life. They were the only, I think that they're the only concert I've actually been. I went to a live 2007.
Oh man, I envy you so much.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
so young and I didn't knew, and I could
Yeah.
have gone, but well, I don't know if I could, but man, I envy you so much. I hate you.
I've been marked. I've been marked for life because it's still surreal to me because ever I went there as a kid. I still have some memorabilia of that. I bought the album, and it was until now. You don't appreciate it then because you're a kid, but then now it's like, wow, I actually got to be near them in some capacity. So I would say that their creativity was also like a huge influence on what I do. And other anime I watched like Birdie the Mighty and oh my gosh, Corrector Yui and Pat Labor and just so many stuff from the 90s. And also most recently, I think it was the Mystery Skull stuff, like the animated music videos, Japanese music videos too. Study Me by Tsutomayo or something was a huge revelation for us in like the last 2 years. That was a main
You
thing.
don't stop talking about it. You couldn't stop. Like
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day was like, oh, Sutamaya this, Sutamaya that, and it was like a huge inspiration
Yeah.
from one song. For one song, I
It
was
was
like,
that.
okay,
It was that
I know.
impactful. Yeah. So you're just a lot of stuff from the past, from the now that really feeds us to this day. And that reflecting that, I suppose, was also part of of the mission with this project for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's funny to say that Daft Punk bring like the whole thing together. I will say like in a generations, Daft Punk was the creator of the project PopSlinger. I would say
Yeah.
like in a way.
Yeah.
I
Joke.
mean, it's great.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Jose, did you want to say anything to that? Just checking before I make some more comments.
Just that he's right, and Daft Punk is in my blood, and it has been, and it will continue to be for the rest of my life.
That's
And
awesome.
That's it.
And yeah, getting on something before I said, I think Future Funk did create. No, I'm sorry. Daft Punk did create Future Funk, not the genre, but it was like the culmination and the focus of the whole genre, the visual and the music. Like it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Daft Punk. So yeah, that's it. I can't stop pretending that it's not true. It's true. It's true that they created Future Funk in some way.
That's awesome, and not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all.
Yeah. But like, it's a big comment to say, but yeah, it is. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it here first. Everyone. You heard it here first. Without Daft Punk, we wouldn't have Future Funk. You can debate that in the comments all you want, but that's the opinion.
Oh no, what I have done.
No, it's good. It's all in good fun. Positivity only. Skule Toyama, I think that's an awesome statement that you made before about getting into the mind of the artists when you are talking about producing music. So you hear so much nowadays. So for any aspiring artists out there, whether you're creating video games or music, getting into the mind of the artist and learning their motivations, their story, what they were trying to achieve with their artwork. I think that's such an important statement that you made, because you hear that you have to just do all the time, replicate, work on your craft, which is of course very important, but it's great to hear that other side as well.
Yeah. I will say that in a short like statement. Uh, you forget that artists, a lot of like movies or video games or music people do or artists do, they are people too, and they do not have process of making stuff. So if you want to learn how, you just need to read how they did it, because they are people too. They are not robots. They are not gods. They are just people that wanted to do something, and they did because they believe in it. Just like how we did, and a lot of people can do, and that's really important. And I want to share that it's really important, if you do something, you share it with other people. Like, you don't close the doors for other people. So yeah, just learn from other people, learn from friends, learn from our big artists, learn from everywhere. And don't let anyone close your doors. If someone closes your doors on you, look for another door. Or go around it. Oh, jump the fence. I don't care. Just look everywhere. Everything is like inspiration. You can get inspiration from anywhere.
That's awesome. It shows the tenacity that you have to create some great artwork, and that's what we heard here when it comes to Jose and creating PopSlinger and everything he had to do to make PopSlinger a reality, including working with you. So that's awesome. So again, really great, really good advice for all of you aspiring producers out there. Awesome. So yeah, talk about how you guys work together. I know you did most of your chatting via Facebook Messenger, but when it came to producing the OST, Jose, what did you have to provide to Skule Toyama? Like, did you like almost like a movie? This is Long Meatball, one of Long Meatball's questions, by the way. Was it like a movie soundtrack where you kind of handed over the finished product, or some of the maybe like video loops, whatever it is that you share when you share a video game? Do you hand that over to Skule and then he produced it, or was there some other process?
It was interesting, really, because you kind of mentioned the word finished, and I'm like, well, I don't know about finished, but certainly we showed him something. We had a lot of sketches, concept arts of the level, prototype stuff that we would show to him. Well, I would show to him, sorry. And it wouldn't just be me showing him that and saying like, oh, just do this. It was me kind of showing him that, telling him the mood, and essentially kind of going over the idea of the context of the level. Like, hey, this is the diner level, this is the street level, this is the thing that's going to happen. And sometimes I would provide him with a couple of tracks that I had in mind that I used kind of almost like as a prototype filler thing that I would use to kind of get a sense of the thing. And then I would tell him like, okay, now that you have these things, then you go to town, you know. And then we would kind of go back and forth on the results. And, you know, he would give me something, I would test it, I would play it, I would record it, I would give it to him and be like, hey, what do you think about this? You know, more or less, I think that was the loop on my end.
Oh yeah. I will say that that thing about treating it like a soundtrack, a movie soundtrack, it was really just like the conditions, not of work, but how Future Funk works, because you know it's all about loops and all about like different stems that you know happen in moments to create like progressions to the music. So that's how I really make music. Like in any way, I just make a loop until it works, and I feel like, oh, this is great. I start making the progression and the sections of the song. So because well, for the need of the music in the video game, it was like 7 loops and 6 sections that will like increasing like you know funkiness, you will say. So it was really easy. I will say like it wasn't that complicated to get into the idea in the flow of the loops. But about the moods, I'm really a sucker for concept albums. Like, of course, I enjoy music that sounds good. I have a lot of music in my Spotify and my library that is just music that sounds good and I like. But I'm more of an album listener. I every month I would say I listen to 3 albums only to get into the concept and idea, the sounds, and the whole like creative process. And that's how I get into the flow of knowing how a mood and music works, like the idea. Because concept albums, I would say like go into a small concept. I don't know. I would say like a word or a place, or into a big concept like a whole history or a whole like lore and narrative. So yeah, I will say like I was really prepared to make the music for PopSlinger before I even like talked to him. Of course, I learned a lot of stuff and I improved my work. But yeah, I was really ready into that whole idea of how a concept works with music and how and vibes and all of that. So yeah, I will say like it was again. It's so funny to say it was a lot of fortunate events together.
Oh, that's so cool. Um, I love how you talk about that natural progression of the game because it does feel so natural. If you could make those like combos together where you shoot the same enemy over and over, and the music progresses, and that is so cool that in 1 month you listen to 3 of the same albums, really to get into the mind of the artist. So I think that's a really cool piece, really cool story that you shared. Awesome. So that's really cool. When it comes to how you guys work together and Skule Toyama, how you produce that music. When we talk a little bit about the like 80s and 90s style graphics, I know you mentioned it before, like that Sailor Moon inspiration, that old school animation inspiration back in the day. Was there anything specific that led you to want to use that style of animation? Like, was it the whole future funk aesthetic, Jose, that led you down that path? And was there any inspiration from Super Nintendo games back in the day, by the way? Long Meatball wanted to know that as well.
Oh man, so it is interesting that there is something to be said about a lot of the things that Toyama has said, because they're very cross compatible with other disciplines. I would say the art of research, right? So for me, the research was looking not just, it wasn't just looking at the, say, album covers of future funk, because to me that was a visual representation of the genre, the album covers, the music videos, but the source of that, like where is this coming from? So it wasn't just looking at different anime stuff, but also like city pop album covers, because city pop was also like a predecessor to that's a lot of the source and samples of future funk, they come from that. I was looking at the works of like Hiroshi Nagai and stuff like that that really represented the era. So it was very, I was trying to be as thorough as possible when it came to those references. We also looked at um, I don't know how to put it, because the actual art style, believe it or not, of that's associated with future funk, it actually has a name, or it has a coined name, and it's called new retro. So to me, there are books and stuff that actually talk about new retro as a genre, with a lot of artists and work of everyone. And to me, that kind of vindicated my vision, because like, okay, I know that this has a name, this has an audience. It's not coming from from the ether. There's actual shape and reasons for this, for the visuals and the way they are. So it was this whole process of putting those things apart, seeing where they came from, and trying to cram that together with the things I liked as well. So like the aspect of, I think, the marker style, because you look at a lot of the sprites, they have this beautiful kind of marker type visuals, because I like a lot of the Copic hand-drawn illustrations, and that's something that as a little outside of the genre, but I was wondering if those things could work together, and thankfully they did. And then throwing on all of the other special effects that came in afterwards, that was also like, okay, in association with the aesthetics of the genre. So it was very, it wasn't a superficial thing where it's like, oh, here's this music video, I'm just going to copy the thing that we're going to do. It was this whole research process of us looking at where it came from, why it is, who it is made towards, and then trying to make also our own trying to put a little footprint on it as well, in a way that didn't seem, I guess, out of line, And then we looked at a lot of games too from like that era. Weirdly enough, I'm actually more of a Sega person than a Nintendo person. I grew up with Nintendo, but in my adult years, I became more of a Sega person. And one of those things that actually inspired me, was this Japanese only. I don't know if there was a release in the Americas, but it's this game called Battle Mania, which is basically a 90s shooter that came out for the Sega Genesis Mega Drive. We actually did. You can look it up in our at FunkyCanDev Twitter. We have an illustration promotional art that was very much based on the promotional art from that era, because that was also like a big inspiration of that. There was also, I think, Dynamite Dogs, and I don't remember what else. It wasn't just old stuff, because we also looked at very stylish stuff, Jet Set Radio, The World Ends With You, stuff that also kind of made me like the things that I like, going into like the stylish kind of aspect of the expression of the game. So we looked at stuff, older stuff, and not as old, 2000 stuff. It was a very deliberate combination of elements that we kind of put together to make it what it is.
That is so cool. And it's so cool hearing the similarities, just like you said, between Skule's process and your process. For everyone listening, that game that was mentioned by Jose is Battle Mania. I'm not going to attempt. I scratch that. I will attempt to say Daijo. I butchered that.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Daiginjo. I think it's Daiginjo.
You are so much better at that than I am. Thank you. But check it out. The cover art looks freaking awesome. Quick Google search will show you that. And a Jet Set Radio feature. I love that game. I played the Xbox version.
Quick shout out to Pepe Salot, or Jose Salot. I think it's Pepe Graphics on Twitter, because he did that art and it's beautiful. It's amazing. He was also a fan of that game. So when I approached him with this idea in mind of using those references, we started like, hey, I love that too. I was going to do a fan art of that game. It's like, well, let's try and kind of put that love in and that essence into our characters. And it works so well. I'm so happy with that, how that turned out. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That I think it's the love that we have for these things that is reflected in the game and the promotional work too.
Yeah, I want to say something about the art that is really amazing. I'm talking about the collaboration with Pepper. I wanted to say that something that happens, it's just really small. I don't want to point any fingers, but it's this thing about artists making like retro art that it happens with, I would say, a genre, it happens with synthwave. Like, it's not easy to make. I'm not saying it's easy, but everyone knows how it looks, that it tends to be really corny, and it needs to be made in a way that it's interesting. And I will say, like, from a lot of artists, the art from Pepe is really amazing. And I was really impressed because I know a lot of other artists that get into that style of retro anime, but this time was really interesting. So yeah, I was looking at it. I was really amazed. I'm not talking about on the point of view of me being part of the process of the game, but from a fan. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, taking a like that aesthetic, especially a vaporwave, something that people have seen all the time, but making it look fresh, making it look new, giving it that new retro art style of artwork, which I think we've all grown to love. If you're a fan of the genre, I think you've certainly grown to love it. So that's awesome. So speaking about the artwork of the game, we talked a little bit earlier on a separate call that Jose, you were talking about how because there's all these like 90s cartoon 2D elements, this style of artwork, it's actually bringing some like 90s animation fans to notice the game and
Yeah.
support the game a little bit. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's been fabulous because see, the thing is, when I was making this, there was a very big risk that people weren't going to latch onto it as like the future funk game or whatever. So I kind of tried to hug the new retro term from the start just to make sure, like, well, if they don't say it's future funk, at least we'll say that it's new retro or something like that. But an interesting phenomenon happened that because a lot of the art has this kind of, for lack of a better term, westernized look, which was also part of it deliberate, because like, well, we're not going to try and do something we can't do. We're going to try something we can do within the parameters and the research that we've done, and we're going to try and do it the best way possible. And that attracted so many people that are into like not just the 90s cartoons, but like the 2000s cartoons, like Puffy Yumi, and I don't know, there's just so many of them. But it was this combination of people that are into anime and people that are into cartoons. I think it's just the nostalgic value of it, because it's like, it reminds me of something. And I think that's the thing that is wonderful about the game, is that people will tell you, oh, it reminds me of this, it reminds me of that. Some people say, even not even older cartoons, some people say like Scott Pilgrim will say, it reminds me of Scott Pilgrim, it reminds me of this and this and that. And to me, that's wonderful, because there's so many people have so many different ideas of what nostalgia is, and so many different associations for the things that they have. And some people will point out things that I have no idea, that I didn't look at it, and it's like, oh, it's true, but it's so great, And so we have people from those walks, from animation, that have really kind of pushed us, as well as within that scene, And it's so cool. We had Rebel Taxi, for instance. He streamed our game, and shout out to him, because it was also amazing that he pushed it the way he did. Big cartoon YouTuber, so that also drew that audience. So it's worked more wonderfully than I thought, because it's like, oh well, this could not work, but it actually worked, and it worked wonderfully, because it's not just the future funk aspect of it, which I hope people actually learn about or look into it. If you don't know about it, it's kind of, I think PopSlinger is friendly in that way, because like, oh, that it catches your eye, I think. And then once you start actually going down to that rabbit hole that is future funk and city pop and all of that stuff that we looked into, it's like, oh, cool. So it's not just this, there's like an actual depth, So we're grabbing, I think, people from a lot of different audiences, but weirdly enough, all of those audiences are connected. And the reason why is also because both Toyama, I would say Diego, everyone on the team also appreciates all of that stuff that audience connects to. So it's not just the one thing that we like, but several things that we like. And that calls a lot of people, I think, that really dig the stuff that we made as a result.
Yeah, I want to say something that maybe you don't hear a lot, but the best media is the one that you don't know how to explain. This is a personal comment I will say, but bringing again Daft Punk as an artist, if you think about what type of music it is, what genre, you will say, oh, it's French house, but it's not French house. French house. It's pop disco, but it's not also pop disco. It's also synth pop, and it has also like electro and techno, and also funk from Random Access Memories, and it's this thing about a lot of things that are related but are like are not like connected by a chain, a strict chain, that they are there and creates its own thing that you can appreciate in a lot of ways. So yeah, this game and a lot of stuff that represent the game, it's that thing about future funk, 80s music, city pop, then new retro art, 90s art, a new wave of Japanese art and all of that. So yeah, it's like a really happy and nice connection of different types of art and inspirations. So yeah, I would say like this game does something that it's not really hard, but it's hard if you force it. Like it needs to happen naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that take on like how you kind of have to merge all these different influences together to get something really, really special. And I think PopSlinger definitely does that. I know you were saying it wasn't very hard. I'm only on the third level after I've been playing for a little bit. I just started making progress today. I think once you find that rhythm when you're playing it, you really get into the game, and it's funny talking about finding a rhythm. But
it's one thing about the game that I really find interesting is that it is almost like those older games that you kind of put quarters into it, and some people get angry about it and whatever. Weirdly enough, it wasn't 100% deliberate, but it kind of developed naturally into that. But it's also very much that connection to those games of yesteryear. But what I like about PopSlinger as a game when it comes to that is that, and like we like to call it the PopSlinger effect, is that people get upset, but then they keep playing and they keep going and they keep going and they don't give up, and then they get through it, and maybe they get tired or whatever, but they're like, oh, I did it. And I remember that when I was making it, there's so many ways to enjoy this game, because it's like there's no time limit on the game, so you can just play it almost like a puzzle type thing where you kind of start popping the enemies on colors. You don't have to really run. There's no, you can really take your time to think about it, and you can vibe to the music, infinitely. And so if you take your time with it, you really can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. There's so many ways, it's just the just from the music alone. I've seen people that just sit down and they get to set district when and they just vibe to the music. It's like I do that. I did that when I was working on it. I would just put it on. I would put on set district and I would just vibe to it. I would just put on the title screen. I would just sit there. I would just put on a level and I'd just go crazy. Or sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I would just sit down and play it. So it's one of those games that is fascinating to me, seeing the way people kind of have taken it as this really challenging game, because it's like, yeah, it's true, it is challenging, but at the same time, it's as hard as you want to make it to on yourself. It's like, if you want to rush in and do whatever, then that's fine. That's one way to play it. If you want to just kind of think about things and enjoy the music and just kind of think about it methodically, you can do that. There's a lot of little avenues on how to enjoy it. And I think that's wonderful. It's wonderful that we've gotten all of these different audiences that don't necessarily enjoy everything 100%. But look, if you enjoy one aspect of it, you're making me happy, because that's a lot of work that we put into it. So for one thing that you like, I thank you. Like I want to say every time I say this, if you enjoy the game in any way, maybe you hate the other percent or whatever, I don't care. But if you enjoy it in any way, you're making us feel extremely thankful, because you're enjoying something that we put a lot of work into. And that to me, PopSlinger is all about the expression, really. I always said it. It's all about the expression. It's all about how we put the things we put on the screen and how someone can interact with it. And the fact that we have this game that the music interacts with the action in this way that's not intrusive, and it's very dynamic, it's kind of amazing. On top of that, having voice acting, which is something that I think is actually a very challenging thing on its own. Just talking about the work on direction. Keep in mind, because I wrote a lot of, basically the entire script of the game was done by myself, and the direction of on the voice actresses was also done by myself, and that was kind of crazy because it was another thing that I had, another challenge that we had to overcome. But the fact that it came out as good as it did, given all of the circumstances, and don't forget we had like COVID and like 100 things. I myself had COVID at the very tail end of development of this game. The fact that we could make the game what it is, to me, is just beautiful. And the fact that the audience likes it, at least on the visual, or they can like it in so many different ways. That's what I enjoy. It's like some people like the music, some people like more the art style. Some people actually tell me like, no, I like the game. I like the game the way it is with the difficulty or whatever. It's like, oh, there's so many ways to enjoy this game, and it's marvelous. It's worked better than I hoped, and I'm so happy. I think everyone on the team feels super happy that we've gotten this to the attention of the people that would actually like it.
Yeah, man, and that's awesome. I mean, between bringing together Future Funk fans, animation fans, gaming fans, I mean, I think that's just a beautiful combination. So, I mean, if you like, anyone out there listening, if you like music, if you like gaming, if you like artwork, especially retro artwork, specifically new retro artwork, go out and grab PopSlinger. I can 100% recommend it.
I want to do that too. Out now at your nearest Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Go get the PopSlinger and go get a Neon City Records cassette while you're at it. They're getting what they're hot.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they're 15. No, wait, no, 5th. I think I don't know how many are left. I don't remember. Maybe there are less than when I count. So I don't want to say a number, but because then it's less than that and people will get angry. So yeah, there's still not a lot, but you can still get some.
They're in short supply. So I'll link that in the comments as well. Maybe some will be left, but we can't promise. We can't promise anything. All right, awesome. Again, love that marriage between gaming, animation, music. I think that's what PopSlinger is all about. That PopSlinger effect is awesome. I've definitely been bitten by that bug. I have that PopSlinger effect where I am, I might not do so well on level, but I'm going to go back. I'm going to play it again. Moving back over to Japan. Jose, you said that you met Night Tempo when you were in Japan. Is that correct?
That's right. If he's watching this at all, hi. No, but because I actually, just so you know, I owe him a copy of the game. I said, I'm gonna get this to you. We're working on it. We're working on getting this game to Japan because, believe it or not, there's a very vocal audience that wants this game over there. It was amazing because there was this concert. I was in Shibuya at the time, just walking, just doing my thing. And then I see the HMV store. The HMV store is like a big music record. I think it's a chain. I don't know if it's international or Japan only. I think it's international. But anyway, there was a concert. Like I just walked into a Night Tempo public concert kind of thing. And they were playing like future funk music live there. So there was this crowd. I have like recordings of it. And I might be able to send this to you later. But there was just all this music. It was this mood. It was amazing. At the time, I actually was still working on PopSlinger. I was in research mode. So being able to be exposed to the fact that there is an audience to this, there is, it wasn't just me going on the internet and listening to music. No, I was in there in Shibuya listening to like a concert of Night Tempo. And he was so nice because after the concert was over, he actually stayed there to talk and sign cards and talk to his audience. And I approached him. I talked to him a little bit. I think I still have like his business card. I don't know if to call it a business card. He had like a presentation card. It was nice with art by Shihoso, I think that's her name. She does like amazing art. I think they're promoting it. They're doing an expo, Neon City Records. So it was like I got to talk to him briefly. I got to keep his contact. But to me, just meeting him was kind of amazing because like, wow, I'm meeting one of the guys that's making music. He's right here, and I'm just talking to him. I don't remember because it was on 2019, I believe. So it was a while ago. I don't remember exactly what we talked about. I'm not even sure if I even mentioned PopSlinger. I was probably just having like word salad in my mind just to being around him, but just the fact that I got to talk to him and I got to experience the genre in person by him, that also put me in this situation where it's like, well, I have to do this game. I have to make it. They had, I think, they were selling his cassette tapes there at the store. You know, it's like a brick and mortar store. And I was like, oh my God, they're selling cassette tapes of future funk stuff that I've listened to for like ages. And that was also almost like a revelation for me too, because like, yeah, this is a thing. This is real. So I think that also put me in that spot of, yeah, no, we gotta make this real. So just the fact that even now, by the way, I'm sorry, maybe I'm getting a little bit out of the question, but just to in relation to this, I suppose, just the fact that we got Neon City Records to work with us and release a cassette tape on the week, days after releasing, you know, those pre-orders came out days after launch. That is something that I had not planned for. That was not part of the plan. As much as things seem as they are, no, that was very fortunate of us. It happened in a very short term, but it was like, it's so appropriate. It's so appropriate. So I've always had a very deep connection, I suppose, with the genre, even if I'm not, because I did some music for the game, but even if I'm not like a full-on future funk producer or like a Mr. Future Funk or whatever, I'm a lover of it. I've been exposed to it probably in a way that I didn't think I was going to get exposed to it. So that connection kind of filled me in with that determination to make the game what it is, you know?
There you go. That's awesome. Believe me, I'm the same way. I'm not a music producer, but I am a huge fan of future funk. So I completely understand. Awesome story. Awesome hearing about your experience with Night Tempo and that concert in Shibuya. That must have been freaking awesome. So cool. So now getting into both of your processes a little bit. Jose, I know Funky Can is independent studio, smaller studio. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your first release. I assume you may have another job besides what you do for your own game. So how do you balance all this research, creating a game, and supporting yourself for everyone who wants that advice out there?
So I would say, well, now I might be going back and forth, but like now, actually, PopSlinger as of recently has become like my sole focus, thankfully, because it's been very, as you know, very crazy past couple of days, very busy, very, very busy. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I have to sit down and really just focus on this for the time being. But in the time that PopSlinger was being made, it was basically a game that I was working on parallel to other projects. So I used to work for other studios in the past. One of them was Atui. They did like Mutant Mud, Seal Drifter. I worked on Night Fright for the iOS and Pictui most recently on the Switch. So I had some experience that I was kind of accruing over the years on top of equipment that I was probably, you know, using. My boss, Jules Watcham, he knew about it at the time. You know, he was very cool because he's also an independent creator that's worked for 30 years. He's like an amazing guy that I respect, as someone I looked up to for many years. I had the fortune to work with him. So I was working on PopSlinger parallel to working on other games. And those things kind of fed off of each other as well, because a lot of things that I leveraged from those projects, I also leveraged things from PopSlinger to those projects. So it was this constant feedback loop of me working on things and trying to balance it. I would say it wasn't easy because I had to learn a lot of discipline. And I think that is one of those things that I would say to anyone that wants to get into this business. Two things really is have discipline, have goals, write down everything, take notes when you're talking to people, pay attention to what they're saying, really have an achievable list of goals, have a list of dreams too that you want to turn into goals. And also, I guess, in my case, I had nothing. You know, I can say for sure that PopSlinger was made out of nothing. I didn't have publisher money. I didn't have anything like that. I just had what I had from my work, from my day jobs. I had all those things, but I was also trying to be very, very kind of I don't know if the term is smart, but like really just being careful about it. Cause like, well, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to do the time it takes. And let's say past 6 or 7 o'clock at the day, it is PopSlinger time. Or if someone else, in this case, Diego, is working on it, then we better know exactly what he's working on. Because he was, I think, the only guy that was working on this full time. Tanya, which she did the background artwork. Shout out to her. It's amazing work. Was doing it part-time. So it was part-time, full-time people, commissions and things that we could make work. So it was really me trying to get the most out of the very limited resources that I have. And I say that with a lot of pride because it's like, well, yeah, we made it basically out of the love of our hearts. Obviously, no one was working for free. Everyone was getting paid. It was all very, very formal, a very formal process, but it was something that I had to dedicate at least some time to. So I would say I sacrificed a little bit of my personal life, but just as well, because, COVID came in too, and I had to leave Japan at the time. I was really sad about that. But I used that time to go, okay, I'm just going to put all of my time that I'm not putting in other projects into this and make sure that that comes out the best it can within reason. So that is the thing that I would recommend, is because some people say, oh no, jump into the indie game scene, drop your day job. And it's like, no, I would say really think about what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Think about the audience that you're getting this to. Think about the time and the people that you're putting into. And think about that those people depend on you or depend on the economic situation that you have. We really have to think things through in order to make something succeed, I think. And it's not just on the practical and creative level, which we do. Like I try to think about everything. It's like the how we do things, but also how we get to survive. There's so many studios out there that make a game, they put it all into one basket, and it's not gonna be pretty. They die the moment the game is out. It's like they don't have anything to do. They have to wait for sales and things to happen. And I think, thankfully, I can say that I tried to plan this out for so long, I guess. It's like a Forrest Gump situation, I suppose, where I've been working behind the scenes for years on this to get it to be where it needs to be, so that when we're done, we still have things to do. And thankfully, we still have quite a few things to do, as you know, even just PopSlinger related. There's just so much coming down the line. And just getting this game to people, I think, it has been my mission now, which is the thing that I'm dedicating myself towards now. It's like, okay, now I have a little bit more time in my hands to work on this. Now that the game's out, now I really want to work on this, because I know, also gauging the reaction of the audience too. It's like, well, if the audience likes what they see, down to like, I think the announcement, when we announced it, people were really liking it. So that was also very encouraging. Every bit of encouragement that I got from my day job as developing other games, to the people around me, fellow professionals, friends, family, I'm really grateful, because it got us really to this point. I'm super happy. So if you're gonna get into this, I will warn you, into this business of being an indie creator, just know that it's a very treacherous, very tricky path. But do not be afraid to talk to other people, because it's something I did to fellow professionals. Like, hey, how should I do this? How should I do that? I'm always like that. Like if I have a doubt, sometimes I get in touch with Jules or whoever is around me, and I go, hey, what do you think about this? Or they may not know everything, but they might have an idea of how to give you some advice. This goes back to what Toyama said: do not gatekeep. It's not cool. Please try to help your fellow man or woman or person or anything, dog, that wants to make a video game. Help them out. Give them advice. Tell them you can make it, but it's gonna take something. It always takes it always takes work, sacrifice, time, and focus and discipline.
Yeah. I want to say this as a half joke, and it sounds so like weird, but every kind of art you make, I mean, because the video game had a lot of art involved. Every bit of art you make, you grab a part of your soul and put it on it. And it takes a lot of you, but also it gives you a lot. So yeah, it's all about gaining something and doing something with that.
Absolutely. And I think it certainly shows with this game, between all the work that you put into it, Jose, and of course all the work you put into it, Skule, both in your different but very, very important ways. So yeah, as you said, Jose, networking, having your support system there, making use of every moment, asking for help when you need it. I think those are really, really good lessons when it comes to game development. and really anything you're pursuing in life. And Skule, when it comes to your process in creating music, what was your process like? I know you talked a little bit about it before, but what was your process like creating the original soundtrack for the game? And was that process any different than the process you take when you make other tracks?
Well, I will say it's different mostly because I don't have a strict process because I don't think about it too much. I'm very impulsive, which I think it's a little bit bad, a little bit good about making music. Like if I have an idea, I do it and I try to it until it fits. But in PopSlinger, it was all about okay, doing this, it works. I show it to Jose, then it works again. You know, loops. I mean, it all starts with loops, but until I have something that he says, "Oh, it fits in the game," okay, I can start working on the sections and all of that, and I start adding sounds. And well, I could say a lot of stuff about the music in PopSlinger, but I'm going to talk about the most important. And it wasn't something that was thought out, like it was there in the first time, like we talk about the music. It was something I actually did, and it came out, and we agreed, Jose and I, to it. And it's the motif of the video game. If you hear the soundtrack, a lot of the video game, I'm sorry, a lot of the music on the game, it has like a sax, like a okay, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly because it's really different in every song. So I'm just taking parts of every single song, but it's this motif of the game that I did in one song. I put it and Jose liked it, and we thought of putting in every song. Like this is the PopSlinger motif. The, and yeah, it was that process of putting ideas into something sticks. And yeah, it was a lot of this process about me putting stuff. He likes it. He thinks it needs a change. And yeah, because uh, when I make music, every song is different. Like every song starts in a different way. But this time it was I could say it was easier because when I made like 2 tracks, I had like the idea of what a level will sound like. I will say 3 things mostly: the sax, a guitar, or a guitar like sample, or maybe like a sample. And this is something that I don't mention a lot because yeah, future phone sampling, all that whole deal. But I don't want to say this because don't want to trick my luck. But when I sample stuff, I have never received a copyright strike. Never. In my whole life, in my whole 4 years of making music, I have never received anything. So yeah, I was thinking, oh, should I add a sample? Should I put something? And at the end, I did. Almost every song has a small sample from a real song. One that it's really noticeable. It's on the tracks, on the versions of the tracks, Purple Lounge. It's a guitar sample from, well, from one of the inspirations of the music that is La Imperatrice, a French band. So I hope they don't mind. I hope they are cool with it, because yeah, it really fit the vibe and the key and all of that. So yeah, I will say that my process is just about exploring and really being open to ideas and what works and what doesn't work. Because as a final note, I want to quote Jacob Collier, because he says something about you know that phrase that everyone says, like, oh, less is more, less is more, less is more. Uh, he said that less is more until you know what more is. So until you put a lot of stuff and you know you feel like it's a lot, you then can start putting the stuff out until it's like perfect, like it's the necessary amount of stuff. So yeah, it's all about putting stuff until something works out. And I will say every song from a lot of artists are like that, like different ideas And yeah, I would say like this hurts a lot, but you have to kill a lot of I will say babies. Yeah, you need to kill a lot of. Okay, that's going to to be really put out in context in a
No,
really weird way.
no. You gotta murder your honeys. I've heard something like that
Yeah, yeah.
before.
You gotta kill babies. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh boy.
uh, you need to kill a lot of the stuff you do that maybe you wanted to put, but you can't, to make something that is good.
Mhm.
And that's it's almost perfect because yeah, even if it's a good idea, you can still save it and work it on something else. Like everything you do, you learn from it and do it in the future. So yeah, it's all about doing everything you think until you feel it's like the good amount of a lot. And I would say like I put a lot of stuff in my music, like I layer stuff, and I had received a lot of comments about that, like from a director in my university. He said like maybe it's a lot of stuff. So I was thinking that maybe I was getting into that point of maybe putting a lot of stuff because I was too excited to put something out. So yeah, I would say that PopSlinger was the perfect combination between a lot of sounds and layers, but also the perfect amount of layers that doesn't feel crowded,
Mhm.
because of the sounds of the the sound effects of the game. So yeah, it was a really nice learning experience of layering and all of that.
Mhm.
I want to add to a little thing that he said when it comes to my end of things, because, and this also goes back to what I said about discipline, is that when you work with someone, two things: you have to really try to understand the other person's discipline. In my case, I think it helps that I actually know a thing or two about making music. I'm not the best at it, but I understand it on some level. So when I go and tell him we have to do it like this and that, it's almost always with a justification in mind. So it's not just, oh, I like this, oh, I don't like this. Usually if I when we have something where it's like, well, this doesn't quite work, and this it's amazing because it works out not just for Toyama but also when I was working with Diego on the art, because we work very closely on that, even that, where it's like, well, what about if we try this and we try that, but why? Why does this work? Why does this not work? Is it too much? Does it give the feeling that you're looking for? Is this kind of chord progression working this way? Is this out of tune with that? All of those little elements are things that we have to talk about. So on my end, I have this sense of responsibility, like, well, if I don't feel like something is working, and I have to tell Toyama, well, this ain't working, but why? And I have to give a very detailed description as to why, and not just that, but how to find a solution around it. And then we kind of work and find that solution. Sometimes it's an impulsive kind of decision thing. Sometimes it's not. It's a little bit more measured. But always, I think every choice that we make, there is at the very least some 20 to 30% of deliberation involved, down to like why he chose the samples that he did, or why that track reminds you of something else, or why the art reminds you of this and this and that. There is thought behind that, sometimes excruciating amount of thought, but it is there, and that's why Toyama is so wonderful, is because he understands this very well when it comes down to it. That is also what I mean when he's like, oh, well, he doesn't need a lot of instruction, because it's true, because he understands all of that process. I don't have to tell him to think, because he's already doing it. So when we talk about it, we already thought through a lot of the reasonings behind why we make a decision. So every decision that we make, music or otherwise, it's always with a justification in mind, I think.
Yeah, I would say like it happened a lot of that what Jose said about, oh, this doesn't work. I mean I don't say it negatively. Mostly like like this it's not working like it should, and it happened in the first tracks, like learning about the whole process. But I would say like it's really amazing that at the end of the process of the last songs, it did happen. Like I would say like in one moment it almost never happened. Like I did something, it was perfect and it was on point, and yeah, it was mostly about adjusting stuff around. But yeah, it was like I found I found like the process of working on the music, like
We were
at
a
the end.
well-oiled funk machine.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your process, School, and Jose. Yep, constructive criticism, always good. Of course, samples, always a pain when it comes to feature funk. I think any producer realizes that. That I think that's what you were mentioning before, School. And
Yeah.
yep. So when you start creating music, or at least when you create it for this project, you usually start with loops? Is that where your process starts? This is a question, and also what we were talking about before is a question from MCON McCon. I'm not sure, one of our Discord members.
Yeah, yeah. Almost. I want to say hi, MC.
Mm-hmm.
MC
ON.
MCOM.
Yes, MCon.
MCOM. Yeah, yeah. I start with loops. I mean, this is a process for the type of music I make. But I would say like in every kind of genre, because I have worked on a lot of different types of music in my life and in my studies. It's all about making an idea, an initial idea, then adding stuff, and seeing if it works on it or if it doesn't work, and where does it come from? Because you can take inspiration from a lot of tracks. I want to say this as a curiosity, but a lot of projects from PopSlinger were taken from the album Stereo. I don't say I don't want it to make like it was laziness. I just grab the project and make it and that's it. No, it was mostly because I was in a process of changing styles and not get into the whole like process of what happened. I was trying to make plunderphonics, samples and all of samples together. But when I got the project of PopSlinger, I had to go back. I had to re recheck, yeah, a lot of what made a stereo. So I grabbed a lot of projects, mostly for the type of scenes, and I did new songs to them. So yeah, it's all about um, having an initial idea and working on it. And if it doesn't work, start the next idea. I'm a really stubborn person when it comes to music, so this is my personal choice. I don't want anyone to do this if they can't. But I'm really stubborn when it comes to music. If it doesn't work, I make it work because I know how it sounds in my head. And this is like a really a small thing I don't tell a lot of people, but I have a fantasia. I don't know how to say it, but it means that I don't have a visual mental image. I can't imagine things. Images don't come in my mind, but sounds I hear them clearly. Like if you ask me about a song, I kind of remember. Maybe my memory is not that good, but I know how a lot of my music sounds and works and different sounds. Maybe I will say like I don't say it's a superpower, but it helps me with making music. So it's a personal choice, as I said. I know how it will sound if I make it work, but if I don't know how, I have to learn. So yeah, it's this process of making this. It doesn't work. How do I make it work? Or if it doesn't work, and maybe I can make it work in the next, I don't know, 3 days or week, if you need it. If you need it to work in a span of time, you need to go to the next thing. So yeah, it's this process of not trial and error, but trial, research, test, and maybe completion, or maybe restarting again, or maybe keep going. So yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all that info about your process, about that very personal information about not being able to see like images, pictures in your head. I have heard of that before, and it's great that you could use that to your advantage to think about how you want your music to sound, and then achieving that. And you obviously do a great job because of your whole career, and of course how everything went with PopSlinger. So that is
Yeah, thank you.
awesome.
Also, one small thing. I hope people find examples. There is not a lot, but there is. I'm sampling myself too. A lot of songs I sample myself. Songs I made, I resample. I will say I'm going to reveal one that is the more clear one. The intro, static startup, is to you. It's a synth pop, funk, electro funk version of to you. It's not the same. I mean, it's like the same progression and the same like key and all of that, but it's a different rendition. So yeah, there is a lot of samples that are not clear, but if people find them, I will be really happy. I don't see myself in a page that is called Who Sampled. That it's like you upload the music you find that is sampled or remixed or wherever. I want to see myself there more. I think a lot of people like upload stuff a lot like every single time, but I want to say for myself that I'm really good at hiding samples sometimes, like, or maybe I pick samples that no one knows. Either way, I hope people find them. It's really fun to see that.
There you go. So that's a little challenge for everyone listening, for everyone watching. If you could find the samples, Skule Toyama is going to be very, very impressed. And I'll think about this for everyone listening, but maybe we can come up with some type of reward or something like that if you guys can spot the samples. But we'll have more info on that in the description. So very cool, Skule. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so starting to wrap things up here. Is there any? This is another question from Long Meatball in Discord. Is there any artists or any up and coming artists that you guys are listening to that you think should be on a radar, maybe musically or artwork? Any artists that you're a fan of?
Well, I will start to make it more easy and to try to wrap it up. First of all, the inspiration of the soundtrack, two artists, two bands, Kurinji, a Japanese like J-pop, jazz J-pop band that is amazing. It really inspired a lot of the sounds and the scenes. And L'Imperatrice again, a lot of that really like glamorous synth pop again, more like French pop type of sound. And the biggest one that I will say like I hear every single time is my favorite band of all time. It's the Avalanches, and I could talk about it like a whole day. I would say like I know them so much that I could talk a lot, but I'm going to focus on mostly the use of samples because filter funk and all of that. If you want to learn how to use samples in an interesting way, hear the Avalanches. Their albums use samples like the first album they made, Since I Left You, in 2000, yeah, the new decade. It uses only samples and it's like 3,000 maybe. So yeah, if you want to learn about sampling, I will say that it helped me a lot. The Avalanches is this like really good way of looking at samples not as songs but as sounds and melodies and different like elements, because you can make two different. I would say like in a matchup, but it's not. It's not only about key and progressions and all of that. It's about some sounds and percussions and motifs and concepts. So yeah, the Avalanches, I would say like it's a must do to hear if you want to learn about sampling. They make the most interesting type of music that is not only like drum and bass and all of that loops. It's like a new song with frequencies of I'm sorry, whatever, of other songs. Yeah, it's amazing. It's magical. I'm going to keep it for another time to explain. But yeah, the Avalanches, hear them if you want to learn how to sample like a magic, like make it look like magic.
Awesome. The Avalanches, specifically the album Since I Left You. Awesome. I can link that in the description also.
On my end, there's just so many, because you said up and coming artists. Well, because to me, it's like the music and the actual visual artists. But if you're coming to music, it's like there's a lot of people that I listen to. I don't know about up and coming, but just the stuff that everyone knows on the circles. Strawberry Station, shout out to him. Eden Kai, Mare, all of those people that make this wonderful music. But if I had to highlight one for me, it was Heitena, and Heitena. I don't know if Heitena is
Oh yeah.
considered future funk these days, but I was addicted to that. Just oh my gosh, just so many stuff like Parader album. I'm still addicted to that. The Parader song track itself was a huge inspiration for me for like what I wanted out of the Alpha Star Baseline Beach boss track. That was one that I can highlight. I told Toyama like this is kind of the feeling that we wanted to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
for.
I don't remember.
And
Almost every
I'm
song.
yeah, almost every song. I love that music so much, particularly that. But yeah, and I mean, and visually, I don't know if up and coming, the man's huge in Japan, but like visual artist Hanabushi. Hanabushi is an amazing artist that it's kind of funny because people think that our stuff is just cartoons or anime, but it's like no, there's also like a truckload of Japanese artists that do new retro stuff. I don't know if Hanabushi stuff is new retro particularly, but it certainly is something that we looked at very closely for the game. So if you look him up, the artwork is amazing.
Oh yeah, I want to say something that I got confused because I got excited because of talking about the avalanches. It happens a lot to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that. But about upcoming, I want to say that this is really weird for me to say. I don't know how people will take it, but I don't get inspired by future funk to make future funk. I don't say that I don't like it. I hear it. I have a lot of albums I hear from Future Funk that I still listen to, and have a lot of producer friends that I respect so much. But I would say that I like to go outside of the box. Maybe too much. Maybe too much. Maybe I can learn to keep it like in a on a middle level and start exploring. But yeah, from coming maybe I was talking about more about albums because the latest albums from Kirinja and La Imperatriz were like big inspirations for the music for PopSlinger. But I mean I just listen to a lot of music every day, and about the thing about me remembering a lot of music is that I have a good memory for sounds, but a really bad memory for words. So I can remember a song I heard like 3 years ago, but I don't remember the name. And I almost went like a psychopath trying to find every song I remembered. But I just kind of stopped doing it. So yeah, every like my mind is just a full of case of different sounds that I have no name. That have no name. So yeah, just making things clear that I listen to a lot of future funk, but maybe I don't get inspired. But I will try to. I will explore more stuff in the future about that.
Yeah, that's totally fine. You take inspiration from everywhere, and I think future funk takes so much inspiration from, like you said before, city pop, other genres of music, and it kind of all comes together to make future funk. So that's totally understandable. Last question for the night. Between PopSlinger coming out, sold out future funk concerts, we hear all the time that future funk is dead. What's your opinion on that?
Well, me again. I was preparing a lot of that because you sent us the questions, and I have a really big. I'm going to send it to you later. Maybe you can put it on the Discord, like what I read about. But to make it short, it was that. It was that like around
Yeah.
2015, like if you look for future funk essentials, that is like the from the Reddit. Shout out to the Reddit from
Mm-hmm.
future funk. Uh, you look for the essentials of that year. There is no essentials list for that year. So around that time it was that almost like it didn't really exist as a concept. Then you see 2016 and it came Pure from Moe Shop and all of albums like Business Casual collaborations, and then it started like maybe it was this really like fight, not between people but between ideas of future funk it's French house but weeb on this idea of maybe trying to bring concepts together. So yeah, that phrase that I heard in 2017 when I started about future funk is dead, it was really a scary thing to see because future funk was really niche place and really niche community. But yeah, a lot of artists and new upcomer artists keep it alive and making new songs, new albums, new ideas, new collaborations with labels, and reviving using Bandcamp as a really pushing forward motor for to bring the genre and the community forward, because we have Jung Baya and Nine Tempo, making it to, I would say, the big leagues, and yeah, making it to the big leagues and making music and shows and all of that. So yeah, I would say like it was dead, and it looked like it was dead. It was a really scary, but now it's far from that. Now, it's its own thing that it's really hard for it to die. Maybe it won't. It will like lower down like a lot of genres like it happens, but rock music, funk music, it's really alive, and a lot of people like listen to it and get inspired by that. So even if it's not that, not that high in concept of artists, it will make it will inspire new artists in the future. So yeah, it will exist as being sampled by other people. So yeah, it will happen. Maybe will we be really old, but it will happen. That's how music works. People forget that music evolves in that way.
Awesome answer.
I would just say, if it's so dead, how come we're here talking about it?
Yeah.
But really, it's like because it's funny. I used to think, well, maybe we're gonna get in here and we're gonna be like late. Like we're gonna be late. But it's funny to me because it's like now it actually feels like it's probably the best time for us to release something like this, because there is a core dedicated public that really, really is into this stuff, into this genre. So you have a lot of people that, as Toyama says, are making stuff, and once we release this, they're supporting us because we also have a big love for the genre, because it's there, because there's a very definitive amount of people that to this day still enjoy it. It's it's just music itself will always have a purpose. I think music and the love for music and expression, it's always going to be there. That's a timeless thing maybe, but to me it's like I never, if it was dead, or whatever, at least now it sure doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. I mean, I want to bring like the list of future funk essentials. Like, I won't say it's an easy way to see what albums were like there and famous in that time. I think from the 2017, 2018, 2019, they were a lot. Like I would say like almost below 20 or almost 20. But in 2021, I think, or maybe I'm wrong. No, yeah, 2020. The future funk list was just 6. I think in 2020, maybe for the pandemic, I will say that that's the reason it took a really big hit in terms of maybe people making music and all of that. But in 2021, the list is bigger, like as it used to be. So yeah, I would say like 2021 was a really nice year for future funk. Like it took a small hit, but then it went right back up. So that just shows how future funk, maybe if it gets a hit, it will not die. It will still be here, and that's amazing, and I'm really happy for that. I still remember those times in my youth, in quotes, that it's people say it was dead, and it was really, oh, if it dies, what do I do? But I kept making stuff, and people kept making stuff. So yeah, it's alive because we wanted it to be alive.
Just as an add to that, and this is not in any way, by the way, to toot our own horns. It is not that at all, because I am very happy of what happened. When Neon City Records dropped the album in Bandcamp in the genre, it topped it. The OST topped the thing, at least as far as I know. I don't know if we're still up there.
Let me check. I want to check.
But
it was the hashtag, right? The hashtag.
Future funk, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that we had so many people supporting the genre and the expression of it, even if it's because I thought, well, maybe they might see it as a gimmick thing, like a gimmicky thing, but it's not a gimmicky thing. It's just a way of us to express that love, because we put a lot of work into this. And the fact that there's these people supporting us and talking about us, and us having the chance to talk to everyone in the audience about our work, it really is a testament to just how many people and how much interest there still is on this community, on this music, on these types of expressions. So it makes me absolutely feel happy. That's what I mean. Like, sure doesn't feel that to me, because we definitely, people are talking about us and talking about the game within the context of the genre. Um, it is very much alive, and there's very much a lot of support, not just to us, but to every artist that releases this stuff out there, which I hope
Yeah,
they all
yeah.
succeed, by the way.
I would say like it really takes a lot the community, the whole community to keep something alive, and to not repeat what I said, I want to add something uh, in general about anything. Don't gatekeep in any way, because if you don't want people to get into what you do, it will die, because then you will, or maybe the only people that will be left are the ones that gatekeep, and the thing you like will die. But also don't reverse gatekeep. And what's that? In resume is that you don't accept different stuff of the things you like. That if something is different and you don't like it, you refuse to include it, and that's really bad too. So yeah, it takes really the force of the whole community to accept new stuff, be open to new artists, and maybe if people or young artists are like real amateur, don't don't be harsh on them. Maybe guide them. Maybe you say, oh, it was really good, and give criticism, because I would say like I received a lot of criticism that it was really bad in my time. When I said that people say it was dead, I received a lot of stuff or comments about how maybe it wasn't like what people were making, but I believed in what I did. And yeah, see me today. I'm still making music. I'm being on the community. Maybe I slept a little bit on it while making on the game, but now that I am back, I'm still here. I'm happy to see how it has become. So yeah, that's my comment on the whole thing. Don't gatekeep. That it's horrible. I would say it's the most horrible thing you can do in your fandom, I will say, or community.
Hopefully,
Mhm.
this ain't gonna be either the first game that has this kind of expression our end, and hopefully it's not the last as far as other people doing it. I really would like to see more of this stuff, not just from us, but like from anyone. Really, I welcome it. I feed off of it.
Absolutely.
Please make more future funky vaporwave games. I will buy all of them.
I mean, there were a lot, but maybe they were like really small, or maybe they. I would say like maybe it was also a case of gatekeeping, because I would say like I saw a lot of games, maybe mobile games, small games, indie games that were used test that really like got noticed, but then like, oh, this is not future phone, and I saw a lot of that. Maybe not a lot, but 2 times I saw it, and it was really bad. But now that to see that we were really supported by a lot of fans, it makes me see how it really has changed all over the years. Maybe for the maturity of the people in the community, or maybe whatever reason, but it's better than. So yeah, Future Funk, it's more than alive. It's having a stroke for the huge amount of heartbeat it has. Maybe that
That's
was a
it.
bad joke, but
No, no. It's fine. It's having a renaissance. Love that. No gatekeeping. I'm sure we could all agree with that. No reverse gatekeeping as well. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we end? Any other comments? Anything on your mind?
Really, I'll say this. If you like, I always say this at the end, and I'll say it again. It's my mantra as far as PopSlinger is concerned. If you like this game in any shape, way, or form, please support it. If you can't get it for whatever reason, then just spread the word out, get the word out. We really wanted to get this game out there to as many people as possible. If you don't want to support the game, support the music, because you're also supporting us in any capacity. If you like it, support it, and if you do and you enjoy it, you have my and the entire team's deepest thanks, because it took a lot of work and dedication, but it is also made out of love to the genre and to the expression of everything that we do. So support it.
Yeah.
If you did, thank you.
Yeah, we are ready for the fandom and the subreddit to exist. PopSlinger, no,
Oh yeah,
r/slash PopSlinger and etc.
yeah,
Also,
go.
also, yeah. I want to say this. Maybe it will be out when this interview comes out, but the maybe the I'm sorry, the soundtrack will be out on Spotify because I had like a really really hard time, maybe like checking out the dates. But yeah, it will be free on Spotify to hear the whole soundtrack. So yeah, also maybe in Real World Music there was a there will be a listening party, but I will try to keep the video up for people to see it, the whole album as a video, an hour and 18 minutes video. I will try to keep it up. Yeah, maybe if something happens, I will upload it myself to the channel. But yeah, it will be there. I will keep it there for free. That's my like my I don't know how to say it, but yeah, it will be there.
Nice. That's your promise.
Yeah.
So we have the OST online. We have it coming to Spotify in the future. Did you guys say there was a subreddit for
Not
PopSlinger?
yet.
No, but it
Well,
should be.
It should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
Go
they'll come
talk
in the
about the
future.
characters.
Yeah. There you go.
Go talk about Re-Engine and how much you like them, and please let me know all your theories about the characters and the story because it's so much fun hearing about just how it's just really fun to talk about the story of the game and some of the details. I will say this just because I think I may have talked about this before, but it's not just anime. Twin Peaks, the 90s show, that's a huge influence in the game. So if you think, oh, is that a reference to Twin Peaks? Maybe it's like, yeah, yes, it is. It totally is. It totally is because I'm in love with that show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Also, to also like a really a sneak peek asterisk, I do a voice. I do a voice for a important character. I'm not going to say who. Maybe I said it in another interview, but I would say it's really important. But you won't know it was me. But yeah, also it has to do with Twin Peaks. The voice effect.
Yeah.
Just take that in mind. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. More secrets, more things to look out for while you're playing PopSlinger. So it's great. All right, guys. I really can't thank you enough. This has been an awesome interview for everyone listening. If you are here with us, please be sure to like and subscribe so we can do more of these in the future. It's super appreciated. And please go out and pick up your copy of PopSlinger if you can. If you can't, like Jose said, make sure you talk about it. Tell people that there's a Future Funk gaming animation combination for the Switch. Spread the love. And also check out the OST and Bandcamp, also coming soon to Spotify and YouTube eventually. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
See
you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.